I call Kevin Haig.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, I'm going to start where Ian Lee-Scalloway left off, and I think it's fair to say I agree with everything that Ian Lee-Scalloway said, it's happened before on several other matters. Look, in the debate on part one, I talked about the dodgy rationale for part one that had been advanced by Chris Aukenville, and that combining functions did not necessarily produce the kind of efficiency gains that those promoting the combination expected, and that's definitely been our experience in the health sector. And so in the case of part two, I wonder what on earth can possibly be the rationale for the change that's proposed, because here is definitely a case where a topic, mental health, that has achieved a significant focus through the Mental Health Commission will clearly be receiving less focus if the Commission is folded into the Health and Disability Commissioner's Office, as is proposed, without any benefit in terms of efficiency. So no upside and some significant downside already in the loss of focus. But so it goes further than that, because on part one the Green Party supported what the government intended to do, because the functions of those various agencies that are being combined into the Health Promotion Agency are at least congruent, and by combining them into a single agency, a significant gain in terms of integrating their functions is achieved. Now, in the case of these two agencies, the Mental Health Commission and the Health and Disability Commissioner's Office, the functions are not congruent at all. The Health and Disability Commissioner has done over the years a fantastic job, but the way that office works is not by taking the big helicopter view, but rather focusing on individual cases. The individual who complains about a particular aspect of the service that they have received. The complaint is investigated in considerable depth, and then the Commissioner uses that opportunity both to provide justice and some measure of closure for the person who has received services that they believe to be inadequate or breaching their rights in some other way, but also trying to draw from that single incident some learning that may be useful for similar services or other parts of the health services. And on both of those things, actually providing a justice process for individuals and a learning from individual cases, the Health and Disability Commissioner has contributed a considerable amount to the New Zealand health sector. And it's really important that that office continues to focus in exactly that same way. But so just as the Quality and Safety Commission in Health, a new entity that replaced the Quality Improvement Committee, that replaced the EpiQual committee that was in the original Act, wasn't set up as a subdivision of the Health and Disability Commissioner's Office, because actually the function is a totally different one, requiring a different set of skills and an entirely different focus. So it is with the Mental Health Commission. The Mental Health Commission absolutely must take that helicopter view that considers the entirety of mental health services and plans out for the entire sector and for not only the short term but also the long term, and it must monitor against that plan. Now, those are also incredibly important functions, but they are entirely incongruent with those that the Health and Disability Commissioner is providing for. And so it's, as Ian Lee-Scalloway has said, certainly the intent was that there would be a finite term for the Mental Health Commission, but the job isn't done, and therefore, sir, that job needs, Mr. Chair,
Kevin
Mr.
Haig.
Chair, and therefore, Mr. Chair, that job needs to be extended out into the future. Now, as Ian Lees-Galloway has pointed out, the origins of the Commission were indeed with the Mason inquiry. And that inquiry focused on a particular part of mental health services and noted a woeful inadequacy around mental health services. And the initial focus for the Mental Health Commission was on remedying that part of health services. And those were services at the what we would call the serious end of mental illness, because that's the end where the most severe harm is caused to particular individuals, and the end that the Mason inquiry demonstrated was incredibly underfunded and poorly focused on by health services at the time. And so the Mental Health Commission established its blueprint, which achieved very considerable support and endorsement from right across the health sector, appropriately so. And successive governments have looked to properly resource that blueprint with ring-fenced funding, and mental health services have moved from being what I have described as Cinderella services within the New Zealand health sector to being services that are seen as an integral part of at least the secondary health services. So within hospitals, at the serious end of mental illness and in specialist provided services, mental health has made considerable progress towards that blueprint. It's not there, sir, by any means. There is still a distance to go, even in that area. And when we look at the performance of district health boards against the indicative volumes of services that the mental health blueprint sets out, the vast majority of district health boards are still failing to produce even those serious secondary mental health services to the volumes that the Mental Health Commission has indicated are appropriate. And there is a growing problem with ring-fenced mental health funding leaking out of mental health and being used in other areas. And those are still areas of particular importance for the Mental Health Commission to focus on. But, sir, there is a whole other area that was not a focus in Blueprint 1, and that's the area of community-based services. And there is an interaction, sir, between inpatient services provided within hospitals and community-based services. And what we see is acute units in our hospitals still struggling to provide space for people with acute illness, serious illness, who require inpatient care. And they're struggling because our acute services are still blocked up with people who largely have non-acute needs. They have ongoing mental health needs that need to be dealt with in community settings, but those community services are not yet at that level. And so we have a problem with meeting the need for secondary services because community-based services are not yet adequate. And Mental Health Commission needs to focus on that area as well as on the primary mental health services that are required by people with mild to moderate mental illness. There is an awfully long way to go when we see the World Health Organization predicting depression to be the most serious chronic illness faced by the world's population. Actually, what that is saying to us is our health services need to focus very strongly on the primary care required in mental health services. And currently there's a bit of work going on there. It needs to be a major focus of Blueprint 2. And we need, as a country, our Mental Health Commission to be focused in that area. We need an organisation with the capabilities that the Mental Health Commission has to do that work, not the capabilities that the Health and Disability Commission has. Both organisations play really important roles, but they are separate roles which are not congruent. This is the wrong thing to do.
I call Chris Farfoy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.